Our next speaker for today, we have Mr. Nirbhay Singh, Senior Engineering Manager from Walmart Global Technology, India. Nirbhay Singh is a Senior Engineering Manager at Walmart Global Technology, India. He takes care of products in supply chain for analytics purpose. Being part of core data domain team, he partners with product, program, and business stakeholders along with data governance team. He strongly believes that success comes only if we are continuously following standard practices and processes in addition to core work. Same holds true for engineering deliverables too, and this is where the program plays a pivotal role in execution of things in efficient and diligent manner. His topic for today is achieving operational excellence.
Hello everyone, I am Nirbhay Singh, Senior Engineering Manager at Walmart Labs, Bangalore. So the topic of today we'll be covering today is the operational excellence journey. So we here at Walmart have various pillars or various groups. And this particular theme is very common, I would say, across Walmart Global Technology. And obviously, like operational excellence is something which is not very specific to any organization. It can be financial industry, it can be retail, it can be technology, right? Because it has its own significance in every sphere, right? So, but yes, there is no hard and fast rule. There is no secret ingredient. Obviously, when we'll go through this deck, we all will know like, okay, some or the other way, we have seen these things. But it's a matter of inculcating a good habit, a regular habit, so that we keep tab of things in much more effective way, which reaps benefit in short and long runs, right? So this particular template, which we'll be going through, is very specific to the pillar or the group which I belong to. And yes, there will be some nuances, some subtleties specifically to each pillar. So yes, we will start looking into how our operational excellence journey, here we drive it in our group at Walmart. Yeah, so here is the table of contents. First, we'll be covering the incident themes and next the top incidents. Now, what is exactly is incident theme is like the SLA misses or there are some production incidents. That is what we are referring to incidents here. So first we will look at the themes, then the top incidents, the root cause analysis of it. And then during this discussion of operation excellence, we will have some open items. There will be some action items which will come up during discussions, and there will be some owners, some ETA to it. So we keep track of all the open items. The next important aspect is vulnerabilities. We will go through the deck, like how we track, keep a tab of vulnerabilities, how we keep a check of how many are overdue and how to nail it down. I think next one is pretty important. As of now, it's very specifically like cloud consumption, but one of the opportunity which it generates is the cost optimization, right? So that is very important because we have a very heavy footprint on cloud, and that particular cloud consumption section helps us to keep a tab of it. Next comes the engineering standard matrix. This looks very generic, but it encompasses a lot of engineering standardization, like how the code coverage is trending across, whether the integration testing, load testing, whatnot. So whatever we can think of in general, at least we at our level best try to accommodate it. And then comes last but not the least is the automation opportunity. Obviously, we know there is a lot of mundane process which we do on day-to-day basis. And if there's a long running product, we know that there will be some opportunities where if we try to automate some of the process, though there will be some initial cost, but we will gain benefit in long run. So yeah, so at a high level, these are the agendas which we'll be covering. I will move on to the next section, which is incident themes. So yeah, for, I would say, confidentiality, we have just marked some with the samples, but we have something which are very generic, and I'm pretty sure everyone will be able to correlate with it. So this is the thing which we have seen it across 3 months. This is a sample which is across Jan, Feb, March. And these are the incidents, if you look at it, right? So the green one is the month of Jan, the blue one is Feb, and the yellow one is March. And these are pretty much actual numbers, at least for our pillar. Now, if you'll see the trend, when we started this exercise, initially it started almost 7-8 months back. So for the Jan, we can see the total incidents were 22. Then we see a decline of 16 in Feb. In March, it improved till 5, right? So we can see that a consistent tab on this has improved our process in terms of reducing the incidents. And that's what we want. So for instance, if we look at it, right? So particularly the sample one, or let's say the upstream. So we are a data engineering organization. So I belong basically to a data engineering stream of Walmart. And we have multiple upstreams from where we will get the sometimes real, sometimes batch, right? And we will be pretty much dependent on them. Now, this is like there were 9 incidents in month of Jan, which was contributed or basically attributed because of the upstream issues. That's where we started a channelized and a proper process. We have a proper scorecard, like how the upstream is performing. So there will be a lot of outcomes which will come out of it, right? And in the table of contents, that's what we discussed, that there's an open item. So we will try to stitch these two things together when we will go to the items, right? So you can see that there is an improvement in the upstream incidents, like from 9, it fell down to 5, and then to 1. Obviously, there will be some caveats or some nuances here and there because of various reasons, but in general, there should be a consistent downward trend, right? So this is the high level, I would say, the root cause analysis. And subsection of is like a subcategory, right? So subcategory is something like, think of it like the previous one was the parent, and these are childs under that parent in that way. Now, this is, if you'll see, I think we all face it, right? It's nothing new, but yes, how can we reduce it, or we can make it to 0? That should be our aim, like bug due to new code. So if you'll see in month of Jan, it was trending to 4, right? So there were 4 incidents which was caused by this particular subcategory. But then you see there was a heavy push where we'll see that we will ensure that the code review, peer review are happening. It's not like that it wasn't happening, but yes, the vigor will, over a period, it might change or it might slow down. But that's where this helps us. We all know that, yes, this is important. These are the critical things which we need to keep tab. And that's where it has improved. But yes, like operational miss, sometimes few things are beyond our control. Like, yes, we saw like there was an upward trend, but then at least we were able to mitigate it, right? And in certain cases, there will be some planned outage. And in that cases, we can't do much, right? So yeah, this is the subcategory pretty much related to incident themes. This is the trend, what we look at a leadership level. Then comes the actual incidents, which we want to review it, right? People will brainstorm it, people will ask questions, and it's a pretty healthy discussion. Now, for instance, like we will capture the incident. So this is pretty much, if you see, from April 4th to the April 10th. These were the 3 incidents which we faced. Now, these are the products against which the incidents have occurred. And these are the summary, who is the director, who is owning it, what is the RCA category, what is the RCA subcategory, and what's the current status, right? Pretty much like the second one, if you look at it, like it failed due to infra upgrade by XYZ team. So probably we know that, okay, if we know that there was a planned upgradation, did the entire load testing, integration testing or not? So yeah, there will be action items which will come out of it. There will be a discussion like, yes, if we knew there was an infra upgrade, did we run our test cases or test suite end to end? Then comes the third one, like pretty much planned outage. I think there will be some window where there won't be much chance that, I would say, let's say if there's a downtime of an hour and it has to happen during that particular time, I think we can't do much. But yes, if we know there's a planned outage, did we inform it to our stakeholders that there will be delay in feed, the data will be processed late, the reports will be delayed by an hour or by a couple of hours. So yeah, this is how the incidents are reviewed at a group level. And then we drill down against each incident. Now, this particular slide is very, very important. Now, what was the business area? What was the problem area? In this case, let's take operational miss. Now, what was the operational miss? Why it happened? Like there was the high cluster utilization. There was a lot of resource clogging or hogging, and it might be because of that the process took long time or it couldn't be completed in the stipulated time. Was there any financial impact? Probably not all incidents will have a direct financial impact, but yes, we do keep a tab whether this incident even caused any financial impact or not. And obviously, if there's a financial impact, we take a vigorous action that what can we do to ensure such critical flows are taken care of well off. We are well ahead in terms of planning and we are proactive in that way. Then we have like the incident summary, who is the manager, basically, who is the owner of this product, what the incident number, when was the impact start? This is one on the left side. And then when the impact ended, right? Then like how we detected it, how much time it took to detect, how much time we, like for this particular incident, it took 10 minutes to engage the L2 level of support. And then after engagement, how much time we took to resolve this. And then there will be some time to push it to prod or do some patching, whatnot, or restarting the services. So overall, if you see, the availability impact was 37 minutes. So particularly in this case, it's okay. We know that, okay, 37, because this is a batch process which we are referring in this example. So 37 minutes is still acceptable, at least in our, I would say, pillar or in our group. But just imagine if the delay availability impact is for few hours, right? That's huge, right? And that's where this particular process helps us. Obviously, some things I haven't put the content, but yes, one thing is the root cause analysis, like what was the root cause, why it happened, a detailed analysis. So the problem type, we know high cluster usage. Can that be in our root cause? Probably yes, but is it complete? No. Why there was a high cluster usage, right? That should be next set of question which you should have. Then, because this is not because we are running this process on daily basis at that particular time. But then why on that particular day, the cluster usage was high? So that's where we drill down further to the root cause analysis. It should not be just restricted to one line. Then obviously, what was the recovery? What was the business impact to it? What was the short-term preventive measure we took? Sometimes we don't have time to fix that issue. We will take some, I would say, tactical approach, which will be like short-term fix, but then we need to have a strategic approach, which is the long-term prevention action. And yes, obviously, I would say strategic approach will time. And in such cases, that's where there is an open action items where we'll keep a track of it. I'll move on to the next slide. So basically, that's what we were discussing about, like how many tickets, or I would say action items, were open, what is the current status, how many are work in progress. But before I go into this, I will move on to the next slide and then I'll come back. Probably if someone has seen it in past, it will be easy for him to correlate it, but we'll move on to the next one. This is what I have been referring to in previous slide, right? We will have some open action items. So for instance, we have seen that there was multiple issues which we faced because of upstream. So what we did is we came up with an upstream score indicator. That's where we said that, okay, this particular stream on the scale of 10 or on scale of 100, how it is performing, what's the health score of it. So we prepare a small dashboard. We started keeping tab of it, whether the file landed it on time. If not, what was the delay, whatnot. So pretty much we'll try to cover everything, and you will see that there will be some planned end date, right? So for instance, let's take in this particular example, the planned end date is 30th of April. So what it means is whatever score indicator, I would say the dashboard which you are trying to prepare the metrics for upstream, that should be ready by 30th of April. And there are two color indicators, right? We like yellow one says that items which are more than, basically which are okay, we are still, which is still moving fine. But red one is the one which is due, right? Which has crossed it planned time. So this is what I was referring to in the previous slides, where like we will have action items and then these action items will be tracked. I just go back and now I'll try to explain this. So for all of those action items, for this particular pillar, I would say we have directors. Let's say there are 3 directors in this pillar. Each director will have some action items against it, right? This is an overall dashboard across all the 3 directors, like how many are open, how many are work in progress, how many are in review state, and how many are done. And similarly, against each director, this will tell the trend. Now, what this helps is we will know at a particular point in time, the open should not be on an average, I should not be more than 20 to 30%, right? Either it should be in work in progress, done, or review. And obviously, when we see a lot of over a period that most of the things are getting done, obviously we can move it to, we can do the cleanup, right? So this is the one which gives a bird eye view of how each stream under that pillar is performing, right? And this is something, though the slide is blank, but this is very important. Sometimes what happens is we will get a long range items. We know that we need to solve this problem, and it's a very strategic in nature, probably not very specific to a product. It might be very specific to a particular group in general, and it might take, let's say, 6 to 8 months, right, to solve. So such items which are really long range, we keep a track of such items in this particular slide. But yes, the bird's eye view, the deck which we are referring to at a director level or at a overall pillar level, it will even encompass these long range items. Next section is vulnerabilities. We know for any organizations, ideally the vulnerability should be zero, right? Ideally we should not live with it, but sometimes there will be some, and depending on the product. So some products which are, let's say, external facing, obviously there won't be any chance of, I would say, there won't be any room for having vulnerabilities, right? But some places where products are a bit internal facing, I'm not saying we should do compromises, but yes, it depends on priority to priority, because everything comes with a cost. But the thumb rule is we want these vulnerabilities to be the least, right? Best is zero. Now let's take, there are two graphs in this. The first one illustrates the total active vulnerabilities against each director. So for instance, this particular director, we can see the trend. And when we will do the review, right, let's take, if we are doing this review in this particular span, right, let's say on 11th of October, roughly around this time frame. Obviously, there will be a questions which will be asked that though there was a decline, why there was an upward trend, right? There has to be a valid reason. And is there a chance, can such vulnerabilities be identified before being promoted to prod, or before that actual code is merged into the main Git repo, or basically the master branch, right? So these are the questions which we asked during this particular vulnerability reviews. And the second one becomes more important, is the overdue burn down. Now what overdue burn down is, yes, total active vulnerabilities will be there, let's say in range of almost, if you'll see the trend is close to 300 or 250 overdues, not overdues, the total vulnerabilities which we have. But then how many of them are overdue? So this should ideally be zero. But yes, if you look at this graph, it gives sense of comfort that yes, all the open vulnerabilities, almost hardly 10% of it, close to, or maybe 15% of it is actually overdue, right? So this is the vulnerability, and there's no hard and fast rule. Based on the organization needs or the group need, these templates can be modified. Next one is cloud consumption. Obviously, this is, I would say, one of the most important aspect which we try to cover. Reason being, when we move on to cloud, we get a power of elasticity. When if you are running on premises, we all know we will have some limitations because our data centers cannot explode. We cannot just grow the way we get the elasticity in cloud. But we all know a famous saying, right? With great power comes great responsibility. So we all know, like, yes, if we go into cloud, initial journey looks very fascinating, but suddenly we will not realize that the cloud consumption, cloud cost might shoot very high, right? It might go even beyond the stipulated limits. So that's where this particular section helps us. Now, for instance, if we look at it, for instance, like this domain one, which is in blue color, right? It was a $4,500, let's say, at this particular time. But if we see, there is a consistent trend of moving it towards 8K, right? And that's bothering. It's almost grew by almost 90% in a span of 1 month. Now, when we do this review, we ask these questions. And when someone comes, whoever is the owner of domain one, he has to come prepared that what was the reason of this upsurge, right? There's sometimes there can be genuine need, right? Let's say there was some, for instance, like any e-commerce website like Flipkart in India, right? They will have a big billion day. So that particular time they might have a surge. So that infrastructure or the infrastructure consumption might be high. Just an example, right? So in such cases, what happens is you will see an upward trend, but yes, we do have a genuine reason. Some cases there might be operational miss, and that's where this particular review will keep a tab of it, right? So this cloud consumption becomes very important, and we are on our cloud journey. So it becomes very imperative that we have a section of cloud consumption in our operational excellence review. Next comes the engineering standards metrics, right? That's what we were discussing even in the starting, right? It was one of the in the table of content. Now, how important it is. So we have defined a KPI, which is on scale of 10. And these are the respective scores of each product. For instance, let's take product one. Its current score is 8, but what exactly is that 8, 4 and all? So I haven't put all these things in place. And as I said, we are part of data organization. So some things might not be applicable to a OLTP system or to an application system. But yes, it can be customized based on its need. Code coverage, it's part of every organization. For instance, like this particular product, the code coverage is 88%, which is pretty healthy, right? In general, our target is 80%. Then comes product two, which is 40%. We know the moment someone will see this, he will immediately have a question like, why it is 40%? What is the ETA? What are we having plans? By when can we expect this code coverage? There might be some products which are legacy in nature, right? Which was built an year back. But still, we need to ensure that over a period of time, we are investing in those products and we are bringing up to the engineering standards, right? And then I would like to put a question is, let's take if everything looks good. Everyone has achieved 10 out of 10. Now what? This happened with us. And what we did as a next step was, we just increased these KPIs. So for instance, like code coverage, earlier our benchmark was that 80% is the code coverage to reach the scale of 10. But then when we saw that most of the teams have achieved 80% of the code coverage, we bumped up the number, we raised the bar, I would say. And as of now, we are following a trend of 90%. So 90% should be the code coverage to get that KPI, like, yes, I have achieved that particular KPI of code coverage. So that's how we keep raising the bar over a period of time, right? That's about the engineering standard. And then last but not the least, which we discussed was the automation opportunity, right? I've illustrated only one. I'm pretty sure most of us will be able to correlate to it, is the on-premises and cloud, right? So every organization, maybe now, in past or even in future, they will have a cloud journey. People will move their workloads from on-premises to cloud. When we do such things, we know there are a lot of mundane work or the pretty much repetitive work which we do over a period of time. And if the scale is huge, we should look for opportunities where we can automate some of the stuff so that the migration is faster. We are reducing some percentage. Indirectly, we are reducing the cost, right? So this particular utility, it's very common, depends on product to product. But yes, when we migrated from on-prem to cloud data set, when we migrated our data sets from on-premises to cloud, we knew that we will be running things in parallel. Let's take for a week, we'll be running things in on-premises, we'll be running in cloud. We need to do a lot of comparisons, right? Whether how the data set of on-premises looks against the cloud. So we knew that we have, let's say, hundreds of sets, right? Maybe I would say close to 10K sets, like small or big. But just imagine going and doing that, reconciliation manually would have been a humongous effort, right? And that's where we built some utility which just did the reconciliation automatically. And that this particular effort saved almost 20% of the overall migration effort. And there were a few more, but yes, this is just an insight like how we can leverage some of these KPIs, some of these standards to increase our operational excellence. And I think we have reached the end. So in the end, before closing, I would say one thing. Obviously, each organization has its own need. And that's where the flexibility we have, that we need to customize this operational excellence journey based on our need. We need to tailor it accordingly. But sometimes what happens is people try to follow their operational excellence journey, but consistency is very important. At least in our journey of more than 4 or 5 months, what we have noticed is that consistency is a key. The moment you are not consistent, you will lose a tab of it. And the moment that happens, obviously, there will be some slips or misses. And that's the key. There are no secret ingredients, to be honest, as Kung Fu Panda says. So there are no secret ingredients. We all know what we have gone through this slide, just that how to tailor it based on our need and be consistent in following it. Thanks a lot.